Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. It's Thursday, August 27th. I'm your host, Jose Galison, and this is the kitty of the day, Jeff, their fat, furry friend. Look at this. Look at this fupa. Look at that fupa right there. He's a big boy. Oh, he didn't like that. He's one of two furry friends in this house here. He is still a Sphinx outcross, though, so he's actually technically a Sphinx, or more Sphinx than a normal cat, but he's still got his glorious hair. But with that, if you like seeing my hot takes, typically around Monday through Friday, around 11 a.m. Eastern, a couple minutes late today. My hair wasn't working with me so well, now, if you like seeing my hot takes, Monday through Friday, be sure that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. Or if you just like seeing the kitties of the day, that'll let you know when we drop new videos and when we're going live. We'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I am all right.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
Crazy evil.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good one. Apologies to the patrons yesterday. I told you guys that instead of doing the morning dump, we were going to be doing a paid-walled show yesterday. End up having technical difficulties that fell apart. We are in the process of rescheduling, and we figured out the issue. So when we do reschedule, it shouldn't be a problem again, but apologies for that. Definitely going to be doing it again real soon. Definitely very interested to talk to Sven Safaro. That's the name of the guy, an OKC researcher. But with that, we have plenty to get through today. As always, we start the show off with some icebreaker content, some more of the fun, the funny, the gen pop, the slop, that sort of stuff. Today, a little bit less funny, although we will have a little bit of fun to begin with. But I don't know, this is also kind of, I guess we're going to use that as more of an announcement sort of portion today too. There were a few pretty prominent deaths recently, so we'll talk about that, a couple announcements. And then we will get over to the world of war, our foreign policy roundup, see what's going on there. A little bit of catch up since we weren't here yesterday, but still kind of chill a little bit on the war front. Obviously, still lots of stuff going on, but not too crazy. Then we'll get into our first titled segment of the day, musical Epsteins, essentially exploring Epstein's connection to the music world and particularly looking at like a Mike Benz clip and kind of using that as a jumping off point. Then we will get into our next segment, who the fuck is Julian Dorey? I don't have any bone to pick with the guy. I just had a couple bookmarks and I was just kind of interested. I figured we'd dig into who is this guy. I hear a lot of people talk about him as the next Joe Rogan. So I figured we'd dig a little bit into some of his background, who he is, what he's about. And then we will get into the digital dystopia for our final segment. Obviously, all of this assuming we're good on time. May end up having to cut one of those last two segments, but getting into digital dystopia, covering some creepy, creepy technical or technological sort of stuff coming in, things to look for. But with that, we have plenty to get. Sorry, I'm just repeating myself. But with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into it. But real quick, before we do, a little reminder. You never know when you got somebody new in here. A little bit, let you know what the hell this is. I call this an info dump format sort of show. We're kind of throwing a lot of stuff at the wall here. Most of the stuff we're processing in real time, between clips, articles, posts, etc. Think of it kind of as like a podcaster's homework of sort, because that's kind of what it is. This is stuff I would have gone through anyways, and so I'm just going through it with you guys. And now this is meant to be like a live, sort of an interactive experience, but most of you guys do not show up for the live, and that totally makes sense. Totally get why. And to accommodate you people, I put timestamps in the video/podcast description. That way you can jump around from post to post, and I keep the chat towards the end of each segment. That way you can avoid all the chat banter, because that's weird if you're listening to in the playback. Now, if you are here for the live experience, I do like to remind you guys to try to give you at least one good morning. After that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet being super chat, or alternatively, if you look in that top left-hand corner, there's a QR code that brings you over to patreon.com/nowayjose2020. A little level of $2, you get into that. I'll give you a list off the different perks at the end of the episode. But one of them, a little bit of an unofficial perk, is you get a little bit of a chat bias. Just because we've got kind of a tight-knit group there, so we tend to know who's ours. We got a good little telegram over there. Get a little chat bias there as well. And like I told you at the jump of the show, I was supposed to do a paywalled episode, so you get stuff like that. But with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's jump right into the Icebreaker content. This is quickly becoming my favorite Icebreaker out there. These recurring Candace pronouncing things bits. Today we are on bureaucracy. I think I got that one right? Bureaucracy. Let's see how Candace sees fit to pronounce this. I think we get numerous pronunciations here. So buckle in for a fun one. Here we go.
Oh, these women, they love democracy. No, they love a bureaucracy, okay? It's become a bureaucracy. There's just a bunch of bureaucrats in D.C. that are running everything. That was a very scary time where we realized just how bureaucratic our country had become.
Politicians and to the bureaucrats who accept money.
During a cocktail party among bureaucrats, and we're going to figure out how all these bureaucrats are just wasting tax dollars, people to sign in laws, creating all of these bureaucrats, these bureaucratic organizations. Bureaucracy. Oh, these women, they love democracy. No, they love a bureaucracy. All right,
cool. Bureaucracy is bureaucracy in Candace world, I guess. All right, one last one. I have a fun little supercut of a bunch of different sayings this time, because she has mispronunciations and she does the euphemisms. She fucks up euphemisms. Now, I can sympathize with her big time on the euphemisms fucking up. I do that quite a bit myself here on this show. Mispronunciations occur occasionally. I'm not perfect, but I don't know. It does feel like Candace is overdoing it a little bit. Either way, it's fun. So here is one more clip, just kind of a super cut of different goofy sayings coming out of Candace Owens. Keep an eye out. I wonder if we got cream of the pie in here. That was one of my favorite ones. Absolute banger. But yeah, listen in. Let's have fun, and then we'll get to the sad announcements.
That truth is kind of, I mean, what actually has happened, the events of our world is obviously, as the expression goes, way stranger in fiction. Oh, I know. I'll fix two birds with one stone. Okay. Really thought that what you were saying seemed so far outstretched. But the good news is that she is now unmurkying the water. But the thing that they are forgetting is perception is 9/10 of the law, right?
You know what? Actually, like as we're only 20 seconds in. I actually feel kind of bad about this one because this is totally shit I do. Like I said, probably damn near every other episode, there's some euphemism that I stumble over, and I just can't remember what the euphemism is. But whatever, let's keep going. This is fun.
Look, the short and the thick of it is, that's the short and the thick of it. That's the long and the thick of it. I think it's really important to now stake a horse in this race, making lesbian jokes. I don't, swing for the next teens and wouldn't be on the brink of my seat. And the judge said, oh, no, it's all good. Par for the courses. Secrets can sometimes make strange bedfellows. And it's hard to put that genie back in the Bible. The elite of the Mormon culture, the cream of the pie, because they are the cream of the crop of the Mormon pie, the Daily Wire, whatever. I'm over that. I could care less. Literally, Barry Weiss would call
the cream of the crop of the pie. So I think she's done the cream of the pie once before, because I swear last time I heard it wasn't cream of the crop of the pie. So there was also a cream of the pie. So I mean, you would think something like that. You say it like once, and somebody corrects you and be like, Candace, you just basically said cream pie. Like, what are we doing? You'd think someone correct her, but I guess not. So either way, that's hilarious though. Like I remember, this reminds me of back when I was an aircraft mechanic in the military. I remember, I made it all the way up to like E6, so I kind of, I trained people how to do their job, yada yada. I remember one story that always comes to mind, like on this, and it's a kind of a funny little thing. This is sort of humor I have. The sort of things that I find to be hilarious. This sort of shit I like my dude, my wife and stuff too. Just like these weird mind games. But like I know I had one like, redneck, kind of retarded kind of kid, like I don't know, super gullible. And I can't remember what component it was. I think it might have just been some sort of access panel or something. And so I was like, yeah, that right there is the Bukkake access panel. Gives you access to the Bukkake. And from there, you can do this, you can do that, and yada, yada. And all I did was just change the word. And I just knew this was like some country bumpkin that had no idea what Bukkake is. And so I just thought it was hilarious. So, and I remember it was probably a couple months later, I remember actually overhearing him in the office say it to somebody else. And they're like, the Bukkake? So yeah, either way, if there's someone who either is not correcting Candace or is giving her the wrong euphemisms, you're funny. I don't know what to tell you. That's hilarious. That's very much the sort of shit I like. But we got multiple cream of the pies. I guess I just want to take a second to just point that out. That's wild.
On a hole and die. I could care less. And don't even get me started on the Putin puppet stuff. I could care less that they could care less about what's in the Bible. Take it. Take his money. I could care less, obviously.
Oh, that's petty. I could care. People say that all the time. I couldn't care less or I could care less. I think I've even done that a number of times. Oh, whatever. All right.
They would not extradite him because the statute of limitations had expired. Oh, lucky for Olivia Duhamel, the
All right, near the end here, they're getting a little petty.
statute of limitations had already expired. That, like, she had discovered the statute of limitations was not up. The statute of limitations.
By the way, for those who aren't aware of what she's wrong here, maybe the audio people, statute of limitations, not statue of limitations.
Had passed last minute, the umpteenth hour. It got canceled in the umpteenth hour. So in the
I've totally heard people say umpteenth hour instead of 11th hour.
umpteenth hour, they decided to cancel
This is one of the times I'll come to Candace's aid here. I'm a fair person.
her appearance, that it had been made in the umpteenth hour. I will leave no stone left unturned. Who wouldn't want to have every stone unturned?
Yeah, they're getting super petty.
Well, it sure as heck's. Everything is so fake, and that is how it has felt from start to finish here. These are the people who you need to stay away with.
All right, whatever. Near the end, the last 30 seconds was just petty, but whatever. Fun. That was a fun little cut. Still waiting for the in all certainty one. But all right, let's get into the sad stuff. Had a little bit of a goofy goof there. Now let's get into the sad stuff. Tim Curry has died recently. At 80 years old. You guys may remember him from such things as Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I've actually never watched. I know people always bring that up. I know it's important for reasons, I guess. I don't know exactly why. It is probably the thing he's best known for. He's pretty prominent in a lot of like horror movies. He was I would almost think of him as like the Andy Serkis of like a previous generation, even though I think they're probably Andy Serkis and that. I was about to say they're about the same age, but yeah, but probably like an Andy Serkis for a different age. Kind of ended up getting those similar sorts of roles. Those maybe not necessarily like motion capture since it was an older time. It was more like makeup and stuff, but he'd be like monsters or somebody in heavy makeup or whatever. So bummer, he's gone. I don't have much to say about Tim Curry. It's a real bummer. I know he was a significant individual in Hollywood. So hey, that's a bummer. The big one though was Dolly Parton. A lot of people are feeling something about that, and I totally get it. I actually don't kind of totally get it, which is weird. It's a bummer she's gone, though. I mean, I'm aware of the kind of impact she's had on country music, and I know the world, the larger kind of her region, especially like Appalachia. She had Dollywood and stuff. But yeah, she passed away at 80 as well. So I mean, 2 at 80. So we got Dolly Parton, Tim Curry. So yeah, 2 of them gone. I know, as I said though, I mean, I guess this is the one that like a lot of people are feeling lots of different sorts of ways about this, which I guess whatever. I mean, can't really say anybody's wrong. I just never really got why everyone was made such a big deal about Dolly. I mean, I don't know. And I'm someone who actually does have a love for like old country. I mean, I'm not like a big old country head, but like growing up, like I remember when I lived in Maine. Which to me, I know I'm technically a Yankee in that sense, and I was born in Maine, but I lived in rural Maine, and like I grew up on like Hank Williams Jr. and like Hank Williams and like all the old people. Like I remember like I'd be fucking out in the sticks with my dad and like his like friends and family, and they'd be out partying and drinking and just be listening to old fucking country music, and I'd be some 8-year-old just kind of doing some dumb shit off in the corner and just vibing to old country. So like I've definitely heard the old Dolly Parton songs, and I'm aware a lot of people really liked her. I never really thought like of those like I don't know country legends. She was really one I would like put in the tippy top or really have any sort of I don't know excessive love for. I mean, don't be wrong, significant. I guess I'm just more kind of like people make a huge deal of it. And while I did just say I'm from Maine, I also claim Tennessee. I moved to Tennessee in high school, so that's also like very close to my heart, I guess, Tennessee, but and that is like her spot. Dollywood's in Tennessee. And even still, like, I've been to Dollywood, fun place. I don't know. I never really got the whole big deal. Why everyone makes such a big deal out of Dolly. She definitely did really give back, is my understanding, to the region. So that's cool. I mean, all those things are cool. I guess I just never really understood why she was treated like such a crazy legend, almost like a Mount Rushmore sort of country character. I mean, maybe like a lesser, I won't even say like a Mount Rushmore. Like, if we're listing like top 20 or top 30, I'd probably put her in there. I'm not trying to like hate her. I guess I just never really got it. And even more so where I'm like from that region, like I don't know. I didn't get it. I mean, there were some people I remember in that region who would have that same sort of sentimentality about like Dolly, but even that seemed to be a little bit blown out of proportion. So I don't know. It almost feels like this litmus test where people are just trying to prove they're really country or something. I don't fucking know. Or maybe some people really did have some sort of kinship. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are in the chat. Maybe I just missed something and it just didn't really quite hit with me. I don't fucking know. But this is left some hijinks open. I thought this was pretty funny. I guess to lighten the mood a little bit here. Here's the redheaded libertarian retweeting or tweeting in pretty amazing Twitter interaction. Here's this person called what is he called? I'm not even trying. It's just some guy named Mark. He has some weird @ on Twitter. This is my favorite clip of Dolly. I don't even know what this clip is. Just some old talk show sort of thing back when she was a bit more of a smoke show of sorts. And then Ted Cruz quote tweeted it with a legend, cry face, heart, pray hands or whatever. And then the hilarious thing ensued after that. The person, Mark, then decided to pull a fast one and change his name to Ted Cruz's Tiny Dick. So I haven't checked Ted Cruz's account recently. I'm not sure if it's still up, but maybe if you go check right now, there may actually literally be on Ted Cruz's Twitter profile a quote tweet of an individual called Ted Cruz's Tiny Dick with a clip of Dolly Parton. So I figured you guys might find that interesting, maybe at least give a little bit of laugh in this time of sorrow. Big bummer she's gone. I guess I do. I sounded kind of like an asshole. I guess it's like the weird time to give that commentary. I'm actually more just kind of actually asking you guys someone. I am curious. I never really got it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because maybe it's a female thing. I don't know. Maybe it's more of I have noticed chicks are more like feel some sort of kinship here. So I don't know. Let me know. What are your thoughts on Dolly? What kind of impact did she have on you? Was it meaningful? Because maybe I'm missing something here. There's also been kind of a lot of negative commentary going around. I know a lot of people have been talking about, I guess she, in some way, shape, or form, helped to, essentially, I think, financially support COVID measures, which, I don't know. I found it to be kind of gay that people are doing this. It's like, I know, especially at the time, she probably thought she was doing something good. But one more little fun thing that's kind of become another thing being passed around. I don't really know what entirely to think about this one. I mean, I guess it's fun, but a lot of people have been running around with that. She was one of the occult elites as well. And don't get me wrong, wouldn't be the least bit surprised at all with any of these people moving around these circles. Especially today, we're gonna get into the Epstein influence in Hollywood or over in the music world. So. Far be it to me think that somehow Dolly Parton was inoculated or inculcated or whatever the fuck. See, I'm canvassing it already from that. But one little fun little thing, one little pattern recognition little node if you do want to go down that rabbit hole. Here's a fun one. Here is apparently, I guess, one of the pictures for Dollywood, Tennessee. Shows a picture of the rolling hills of Tennessee, which are beautiful, I can attest to. Dollywood, Tennessee, and you see a picture, and surrounding those, framing that beautiful landscape photo, is a bunch of monarchs. And let's just count these real quick. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 monarchs on the Dollywood, Tennessee thing. Seems significant to me. Maybe it means nothing. Who knows? To be fair, monarchs are also the go-to, pretty butterfly. But now you add in 13 of them. Not gonna lie, the feelers are going up a little bit. Does it mean anything? I don't know, but the feelers are up. But with that, let's get into the chat. Say some good mornings, checking on you guys, see what you guys say. I guess one more thing on these on the dead celebrities. I will say it seems like everyone's looking out for the number 3. I guess you could probably maybe include Hayden Panettiere, but that was over a week ago. So I feel like I keep seeing these ongoing things of people including these minor actors or actresses or celebrities or whatever. And you're oh, rule of 3, and I keep seeing new ones. So I don't know. Are there going to be another third big one? All the ones I keep seeing listed are like all these like who? Like I don't know, we got Tim Curry and Dolly Parton. It almost feels like there needs to be a third one, like a third big one for the rule of three to really prevail here. If it's just some nobody third-rate actor or musician, it's like what the fuck is this? So keep an eye out for that. The rules of three when it comes to these sorts of deaths. But with that, let's get into the chat to say some good mornings, and then we'll get into our war talk. Good morning, Ryan McLeod. Says, spoiler alert, Julian Dorey is a Dorian Gray pod slop homunculus of Joe Rogan. It bears mentioning here that Rogan is a golem composed primarily of circumcised foreskins. Yeah, definitely there in the good on the last sentence there. Definitely agree. First sentence, I'm a little confused. Isn't Dorian Gray, isn't that like a... God, Dorian Gray, what is that? What is it called? The whorish ladies book, the... 50 Shades of Grey, right? Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey, because it's after his name, Grey. Isn't that the male dude? Isn't that the dude in that? The 50 Shades of Grey? I mean, I guess I don't understand what you're saying there. If you're saying he's like that, I mean, what kind of naughty things has Julian Dorey been doing to you, Ryan? Good morning, Tom33. Good morning. Maybe it's somebody else, or maybe I'm missing your point there. Good morning, Fire Pixie. Good morning, Fire Pixie over on Twitter or over on YouTube now, bumping around from platform to platform. Tom's letting us know that donkeys are running thing. That's what's really going on. It's Candace is trying to tell us the elites are actually donkeys, or maybe she's saying they're jackasses because it's a bureaucracy. If I recall correctly, I believe a burro. Isn't that like donkey in Spanish? So yeah. Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning. Good morning, OG Matzo Balls. Good morning, Tom says you can take the bunny out of the jungle, but not the jungle out of the bunny. What do we got? Rickyisms from Trailer Park Boys, says Fire Pixie. Yeah, these are very much like these. Rickyisms. Yeah, Bug Fight says, make me like her. Yeah, too. I'll say, okay, the sayings one bring me back. The pronunciations do get on my nerves. The sayings, I'm more sympathetic to. And yeah, I actually find it a little bit endearing. Beating a dead horse with one stone right here. Let me see, what does it got? Cobra Chicken, good morning to you. Says, rest in peace, Peter Cullen. Okay, so see what I mean? Peter Cullen. Who the hell is Peter Cullen? Let's look him up. Does he rise to the I don't know, a significant third, a worthy third? Oh, the Transformers Optimus Prime. Oh, that gives you some hefty extra points there. I don't know if I've ever seen this guy, but I guess some sort of voice actor. Sounds like that's all he's really known for. That's a pretty big one, though. I'm looking at his little Transformers. Yeah, Transformers, the animated series, and man, it looks like they got him for the movies too, huh? So shit, I didn't realize they've so consistently had. Okay, that's actually a pretty big deal. I mean, it's very rare you see a voice actor play the same character pretty much damn near throughout. So he's been since the 1980s. He returned in 2007 with the first live-action film. Pretty big. Okay, maybe Peter Cullen. Big ups to that guy. Sorry to see you go. You definitely contributed to a lot of childhoods here in this chat, that's for sure. I mean, the Michael Bay things were slop, but that's not really your fault. But yeah, here's the guy. For those who are interested, here he is, Peter Cullen. So maybe this is the rule of three here. I think that counts. That works for me. That's a big enough deal. But all right, let's check what else we got. Good morning, aggressively green says, to be fair, Candace is black. Tom33 says, no idea who this guy or Andy Serkis is. Either one is. Andy Serkis is the guy who played Gollum. And he's also Planet of the Apes, too. He's the one who plays, I can't remember, was it Caesar? I think it's Caesar's the name of the monkey. So he's kind of does these like motion cap things, and which it was a little bit of a strained comparison because Tim Curry was he was It, the clown, and he was a number of other like horror characters and this and that, and even Rocky Horror Show he's heavily makeuped up, so he's like kind of maybe not full motion cap or CGI or some shit like circuses, but he's taking on essentially non-human characters typically a lot of time. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain it, but anyways, you kind of get the idea. What else we got? Ryan says Dolly helped gay guys come out of the closet as country music fans. Some marvelous milkers. I actually always was like, I never got the ridiculous like gigantic fake boobs. They're ridiculous. I don't know. They're just I don't know. People make a big deal. I mean, yeah, they are ridiculous, but I guess it's another thing too. I've always had a little bit of a judgment there, and like, why did you put beach balls in your chest? It looks ridiculous. Like, I know, like, not even in like a weird niche porn star sort of way is that really hot. Does anyone actually find that hot? Like, even in like a blow up doll, like completely sexualized sort of way, it's still not hot. Like, so at least for me, I mean, that's just my perspective. So I always thought she looked kind of ridiculous. So maybe that's why I find it hard to take her pretty seriously. Tom says she was treated like a legend because she went everywhere, kind of like Snoop Dogg. He's everywhere, so people who aren't into music still like him. Yeah, plus some yams, bro. Yeah. I guess the ubiquitous nature of her, where she's kind of like known everywhere, which I guess somewhat those knockers did contribute to that, because it is like a very weird, unique thing, as I just pointed out, to kind of make her more recognizable. Gavin Gomez, good morning, says Julian's podcast is dope. I'm gonna be real with you. I've never particularly cared for it. If anything, I kind of don't like it. I don't know. Good morning, Wambito. Good morning. This is just another mind control sorceress ritually sacrifices. Look at those butterflies. Yep. This is Tom says bitches love monarchs. Exactly. Good morning, K Sharp says I'm going to Dollywood tomorrow. Hell yeah, have fun. Dorian Gray. There you go. Ryan McLeod, the reverse aging painting story. Yes, you are correct. He was in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen as well. He's also like a literary character. Yeah, he's I forget what the name of the book he's from, but yes, you are correct. I thought it might have been something else, because like I was like the name was, but yeah. Fire Pixie lets us know Oscar Wilde is the author who created that character. Matzo Ball says the portrait. Yeah, he's backing this up too. Yep. All his ugliness, sin, and age are transferred to this magical picture. So he's essentially immortal. Good morning, darn that dragon says Candaceisms are my fave. Yeah, so exactly. So Tom says not attracted to big booby. It's just the meme. Exactly. She's OG big titty hoe. So yeah, I guess that's why she's memorable. I guess now that I mentioned that you add in the ridiculous nature of the boobs, it makes it so memorable. While also actually being a country legend as well. I guess for me, I don't see her as like a top tier like country legend, as it seems like she tends to get treated in life and in death. So. Ryan's maybe in the next chat go around. We're about to jump into foreign policy, but he's saying the joke about Dorian Gray was awesome. Allow me to explain why. Is it because he's like I'm gonna go ahead and guess. I'm assuming this Julian Gray guy is probably a lot older than he is maybe portraying himself as. Is that what you're getting at? Is he like in his late 40s or something? Is he essentially like Clinting it up kinda? Not quite full gone backwards hat type deal, but he's like an older guy that's like doing this young guy shtick. Is that where you're getting at? I mean, that would make sense to me. But all right, let's get into the world of foreign policy. Speaking of which, you see a little kitty here? Ren is back again. She's been sitting in my lap this whole time. All right, let's get into the foreign policy world. Let's see what's going on there. All right, let's get into it. Big ups once again to Kyle Anzalone for picking up the slack while old Dave DeCamp is gone. I think he should be back next week, maybe even get an episode tomorrow. We'll see. But we got a report. U.S. offers sanctions relief to Iran if Tehran opens Strait of Hormuz. So a little bit of reports coming through here. This is a source from Saudi state media. Says apparently Washington sent Tehran a message offering to lift the blockade and sanctions against Iran if the Islamic Republic reopens the Strait of Hormuz. So this is just to say this is an unconfirmed report coming from a senior source who spoke with Al-Hadath. And then Pakistan relayed the American offer to Iran. I read that wrong. So it was just some source with Al-Hadath, a foreign publication. So we do have a little bit of, perhaps murmurs of something occurring here, which I don't know. None too hopeful, but continuing on, here's another piece. But this is more legitimate stuff as opposed to just reports. We got Iran and Oman reach a Strait of Hormuz revenue sharing deal, which is significant. I think last time we touched on foreign policy, the biggest thing was this whole gay little, economic D-Day nonsense that Trump and Bessent are running with. We're no longer doing the military route. We're going to destroy them financially. And essentially the idea it wasn't really so much targeting Iran as the idea was to target anyone who would, Iran and furthermore, anyone who would have anything to do with Iran, like financially speaking. This obviously, some of the... now, they didn't say anybody specifically to do it. They're essentially just announcing arbitrarily we'll kind of do what the fuck we want with anybody who's interacting with Iran. Kind of spoke some big, tough words. China basically came out and said, eat a dick. Like, we're going to do what we're going to do. And which that's like a big trading partner, so we'd be really screwing ourselves out over if we actually enforce that. And then on top of all that, and we have this story that we're about to get into right now, drops right, basically, was it like 48 hours or less after the fact of them doing this whole D-Day nonsense. So this is very much a big, blazing middle finger to the United States from Oman, who is one of our allies in the region, essentially flagrantly being like, fuck you. Because, this is an example of financial assistance to Iran as one could really imagine here. So, this is very much Oman kind of laying out like how they see things playing out, which honestly is probably the reasonable way to look at things. Iranian officials have announced that Tehran and Muscat will split the revenue generated by tolls for vessels crossing the Strait of Hormuz. The two countries also agreed to limited military transits through the critical waterway. Agreements have been reached regarding each country's share of the strait's waters, as well as Iran and Oman's share of its revenues, the IRGC said on Wednesday. We have reached results that are acceptable to both sides. However, the deal will not result in the immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC said the U.S. must comply with Iran's conditions first. Tehran is calling Washington to return to the MOU before reopening the crucial waterway. Kazem Garibabadi, that's a fun one, Iranian deputy foreign minister, explained the deal created shipping lanes for traffic in and out of the Persian Gulf. Ships using the strait to enter the Gulf will travel entirely through Iranian territory. Outbound traffic will use a lane that crosses both Iranian and Omani territory. Current lanes are temporary, and the two sides will use the next 60 days to discuss permanent shipping routes. Garibabadi added that military vessels will be barred from transiting the strait. Before the U.S. and Israeli war against Iran, the Strait of Hormuz was treated as an international waterway. I figure that's a good thing worth reminding you of. Anyone who tries to tell you that, they're winning the war or whatever, anyway tries to put positive spin on it, at a very, very simple level, things are worse now than they were before. And, for example, like the Hormuz Strait, before, just going in and out, no big deal, no one gave a shit. And now gas is like around $4 or more. So, and if China starts picking up their buying of oil, that'll go way up too. So, but continuing on, let's check in and see what the U.S. is planning on doing. We got a little word from Marco Rubio. He's informed allies the White House is not preparing new attacks on Iran and will send in focus on enforcing sanctions against the Islamic Republic. So it sounds like we just have Rubio kind of basically just repeating more of what Bessent is saying. So U.S. officials speaking with Axios said Rubio told allies the U.S. was not planning any attacks on Iran, and any strikes on the Islamic Republic would only be to respond to IRGC missile or drone attacks. The White House will focus on enforcing sanctions on Iran. Continuing on, kind of on this as well, we have a report coming from Haaretz here, which that's got the old Israeli publication there. They're reporting, actually, the New York Times reporting, so a little bit confusing. Sorry, I don't even know why I leaned into the Haaretz thing. This is actually originally from the New York Times. So earlier on Tuesday, the New York Times reported the U.S. State Department is preparing to return diplomats to embassies in the Middle East that were evacuated before and during the war with Iran. The idea being that there's a report saying that the U.S. is going to hold off on the Iran strikes until after the midterms. Just kind of delay this warfare, essentially just going to put it on pause till after the midterms, I guess is the plan. I'm assuming they're trying to this protracted nonsense they're doing right now, but we've been covering here. There's rumors Iran's talking about escalating, so it seems like the U.S. side of things are just trying to keep things at a stalemate as best they can, assuming the old paradigm of war where we could do this. The United States has done this many times where they would just leave things in some sort of protracted sort of situation. And whatever, we're the big dog here. Like, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Well, things are a lot different here. Now, with the Iranian situation, we no longer have what the military calls escalation dominance. No matter how much they may like to act like that is the case, they do not. Iran very much does. They've been threatening attacking UN, or not UN, but like European bases that the U.S. is using to launch attacks out of and stuff like that. And they've also said that while the United States is not currently carrying out strikes, that doesn't mean they won't. There's still currently a blockade going on, which is a fucking act of war. So like war, essentially war is being perpetrated on them, despite the fact they're trying to act like it's some sort of weird stalemate, nothing going on situation. So Iran has been very clear, like, we're still open to, essentially attacks if we need to. And they're alluding to that it may not necessarily be in a responsive sort of way as it's been in the past. It may be just more of an offensive sort of thing. Although offensive is even then a misleading way to frame it, because there's the blockade going on. So it is actually even then still just responsive. So, but with that, continuing on, we've got more reports. As a Wall Street Journal, I know, very report heavy. I usually do try to lean away from reports a little bit, but we've got some interesting ones, and I couldn't help it. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Says Trump launched the war on Iran despite warnings it could become prolonged, strain U.S. forces, and trigger major regional and economic consequences, which I'm not at all surprised about that, but let's see where they're finding this from. They're saying it's just a report. See if we can get any more info on this. It says report says President Donald Trump received repeated warnings from intel and military officials before ordering the February 28th assault, including assessments that killing Iran's leadership would strengthen hardline forces, prompting Tehran to move more aggressively toward nuclear weapons and trigger retaliations against U.S. forces and regional partners. Days before the war began, Trump repeatedly summoned then Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard to the Oval Office to ask whether a large-scale attack on Iran could succeed. According to people familiar with the meeting, Gabbard warned that eliminating Iran's spiritual leader could result in an even more hardline government, and that Tehran would likely attempt to close the Strait of Hormuz, placing enormous pressure on global energy markets. Which, I mean, the Strait of Hormuz thing was like one of the most fucking obvious things of like ever. I mean, I remember, a lot of you guys may remember, like, shortly after the closing of the Strait of Hormuz and all that, they were acting as if, like, they were, like, clueless. Like, what? We have no idea. Like, the idea that they would actually close the Strait of Hormuz, like, that's some sort of kind of like a war crime or something. These are international waters. I can't believe they would do that. When it's like, that's what fucking anyone with, like, a 101 level understanding of foreign policy has been saying for, like, decades. So, I mean, I remember hearing, thinking these things like a decade ago when I wasn't even really that knowledgeable of this shit. You do not need to be that knowledgeable to understand. Like, we don't need top intelligence officials to be like, oh, they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. They were obviously going to close the Strait of Hormuz. So, but yeah, looked like they knew that. None surprised here. We got more murders on the high sea, 4 on a suspected drug boat in Ecuador. We also got special forces essentially upping their presence in that region. So Southcom announced it targeted a suspected drug boat in the Caribbean Sea, and Green Berets conducted anti-drug operations in Ecuador. Donald Trump ordered increased military operations in Central and South America against cartels. Joint Task Force Western Hemisphere executed a lethal kinetic strike on a go-fast vessel operating along established narco-trafficking routes in the Caribbean, Southcom posted on X Tuesday. Confirmed intelligence revealed the vessel's active involvement in narco-trafficking. The operation killed 4 narco-terrorists. Over the past year, the U.S. has attacked more than 60 vessels in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, killing over 200 people. The Pentagon asserts that vessels are operated by cartel members. However, some family members of the victims have gone public, claiming their relatives were engaged in legal activities. On Wednesday, the DEA said Southcom was involved in operations in Ecuador. Ecuadorian authorities, supported by the DEA and Southcom, conducted a series of coordinated enforcement operations today targeting transnational criminal organizations involved in international cocaine trafficking, the agency statement continued. Last week, a local Ecuadorian official told AFP and UPI that U.S. Special Forces have been conducting direct operations against suspected cartels in the Esmeraldas province. Last month, the Washington Post reported reviewing a DEA assessment that found the strikes on vessels operated by alleged narco-terrorists have not changed the amount or price of cocaine entering the U.S. U.S. military officials also admitted to Congress that the operations have had no impact on purity. DEA said that cartels have designed new methods to smuggle drugs into the U.S. Cartels have bribed Colombian officials to get the location of U.S. warships and use small aircraft or alternative routes to traffic cocaine into the U.S. When you squeeze a balloon on one side, it always expands on the other side, one DA official told the Post. They always find the weak spots and exploit them. Yeah, no shit. Continuing on, a little bit more positive news. We're getting more overtures of peace towards South Korea, or North Korea, and South Korea too, but mostly North Korea here. So that's always great. Trump said North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un has been respectful, making U.S. and South Korean joint war games totally inappropriate and hostile, which I know we sort of had the story already, but we have another statement on it, some more positive words to this effect. So it said, based on my very good relationship with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, I was not happy with the fact that long ago, that the United States has long ago agreed to participate in joint military exercises with South Korea. Those exercises are not only costly, oh wait, I just realized, you know what? This is the same story. I think maybe Kyle may have accidentally essentially repeated this. I thought this was my bad. I thought this was a newer one. This is the same one we covered on Tuesday because it's from a Tuesday statement. So I don't know if maybe they just got their lines crossed a little bit there, but either way, hey, cool. Or maybe they just posted it again. I missed that. So my bad. I thought there were more statements. I looked through this beforehand, by the way. So I just want to throw that out there. So my bad, but I thought there were just more quotes on that. But continuing on, here's some quotes. Here's Netanyahu. Completely unsurprising, but hey, whatever. We should at least check in on where he's at with all of this. He's denouncing the Iran as savages who cannot be dealt with. So Netanyahu said a diplomatic deal was not possible with the savages who rule Iran, as he hailed Trump's new campaign of economic pressure. Pretty big words from someone who's literally killed tens of thousands. Actually, I think it's over 100, right? So, but I guess it wouldn't be hundreds. So I guess we'd still say tens of thousands, but tens of thousands in the over 100,000 range. These are the amounts of deaths this guy's, essentially responsible for, and calling Iran savages. So pretty wild. Recounting a recent meeting with Trump, Netanyahu said they discussed the possibility of diplomacy with Islamic Republic and added, I doubt, however, that an agreement can be reached with that group there, with those savages. From the most duplicitous person that it basically exists on the planet, Netanyahu, for anyone who's paid attention to any Israeli deals fucking like ever. It's not even really a Netanyahu thing. This is just like an Israeli thing. So more, which, I mean, I don't know. Did we really expect anything different? But either way, it's just kind of peak irony. But we got the Board of Peace Chief blasts Israel for ignoring the Gaza truce. The Board of Peace High Commissioner Nikolay Mladenov warned Israel that continued attack Gaza is extending the conditions that caused Hamas to attack on October 7th, 2023. These strikes do not change the status quo that produced 7 October 2023. They preserve it. Mladenov told the UN Security Council on Wednesday. Will another strike on a munitions depot stop Hamas from rearming or loosening its grip on Gaza? It will not. His remarks follow Israel's rejection of the Board of Peace's plan to disarm Gaza that was endorsed by President Trump. Late last month, Trump announced the deal had progressed and Hamas was prepared to disarm in exchange for an Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. So we've talked about that, but so obviously the story here is more the Board of Peace chief essentially speaking up, which, I mean, it's good to see we're getting something from there, but I mean, hey. We also get Israel's developing offensive space capability, so I've been seeing lots of jokes about Israeli space lasers, which, let's be real, we all knew they were real. So Israel is currently prepared to begin development of offensive space capabilities, including systems designed to defend Israeli satellites from hostile spacecraft and weapons, including lasers. He knows what we're getting at here. Capable of striking targets from space. So we're getting those Jewish space lasers everyone's talking about. And let's check in on Russia, see what's going on over there. We've getting some murmurs of possible attacks on NATO countries, which that would obviously trigger some Article 5 shit, which real bad. That's where we enter. Sorry, I just heard something like just really loud thunder. That's where we enter into World War I, World War II sort of situation. So big stuff. The White House and the Kremlin confirmed that CIA Director John Ratcliffe traveled to Moscow this week to meet with his Russian counterpart. On Tuesday, the CIA Director Ratcliffe flew to Russia to meet with officials. According to CBS, at the time, the sources did not say who Ratcliffe met with or what was discussed. Washington and Moscow confirmed that Ratcliffe was in Moscow to meet the top Russian intelligence official. On Wednesday, Trump told Glenn Beck the meeting was sort of semi-routine. Wednesday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that contacts between intelligence agencies are in and of themselves a positive phenomenon, a positive process, but but he stressed that Russia-U.S. relations remained in a profound crisis. While Trump pledged that he would end the war in Ukraine on first day of office, the conflict has continued to escalate. In his conversation with Beck, Trump suggested the talks were not leading to a deal to end the war. On Wednesday, Bloomberg reported speaking with sources close to the Kremlin who said Russian President Putin believes talks are an impasse and is considering increasing the number of missile strikes on Kiev. On Wednesday, Russia reported the Ukrainian missile struck a bus in Luhansk, killing 9. Additionally, Ukraine used a European cruise missile to attack the center of the Donetsk region. Russian officials reported that 8 civilians were injured in the strike. And there is an update in here. U.S. officials told multiple outlets that Trump dispatched Ratcliffe to Russia to warn Moscow not to attack any NATO countries. Earlier this week, an advisor to Russian President Putin warned that unknown actors could attack UK facilities producing weapons for Ukraine. Additionally, Ratcliffe relayed to his Russian counterpart that if Iran does not reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. will impose additional economic penalties. So, pretty dicey situation. Hopefully it doesn't get worse, but I'm not holding my breath here. But with that, let's get into the chat, and then we will get into the first titled segment of the day, Musical Epsteins. Tom33, here's some commentary on Dolly, saying it's probably my favorite female country singer. Now, I will give you that. If we're doing female country singers, you do put her on the Mount Rushmore. So, but I'm all about equality over here at No Way Jose. So I didn't even immediately, like, that's not my default. I didn't go to like, oh, she's some, like, no, I'm grading them on all. And let's be real, like, you go like, she may not get the female Mount, or she may not get into the Mount Rushmore of country, but she'll get in the Mount Rushmore of female country. But let's be real, there's no females in the Mount Rushmore country. So I don't know. There's not a whole lot of female country ones I've ever really cared for, but she's okay. Ryan's saying, he's saying that Dorian is a reverse age Rogan mixed with more pod slop. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Reverse age Rogan. Okay, kinda, yeah. I'm saying the whole world's calling her a bluff. I'm assuming about the economic D-Day. Yeah, Oman. Like, who the fuck? I don't even think I really even knew Oman was a country like a couple months ago. and they're telling us, eat a dick. Like, that is the current U.S. That's the current status of the U.S. empire. Good morning, Nemo Liberty says, what's the suspicion about Julian? I might be out of the loop. I think he's great. And I like I said, we're gonna dig into it. Apparently, as I've bookmarked a couple things that I found. Who knows? Maybe it's bullshit. Maybe it's stupid. Maybe it's really fucking gay. We'll find out. I don't know. I think it's more just kind of like who he's connected to, that sort of stuff. I don't know. Just saw a few things, and also had a fun clip. So it's just it's more of just an excuse because I've had a clip sitting around for a while from Julian's show that I just had some interesting connections that just never really fit with anything else. And this gives, and then I also happen to find some other stuff kind of digging into who he is and what he's about. And so, hey, we're gonna take maybe set a little time aside, and I don't know, who the fuck is this guy? What he's about? I don't know. I've only watched the show a handful of times, really. I really don't have any beef with him. Like I said, I don't really particularly care for his show, but I don't have anything against him. Like, it's not like he did wrong. So yeah. What else we got? Aggressively Gring says Congress enriches itself by diving headfirst into 4-foot deep pools of war. They don't care about the economy. They get rich with their weapon defense friends. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hoppe lays this out perfectly in Democracy, the God That Fails. All right, let's get into musical Epsteins. Let's jump right in. As I said, it's going to kind of take a little bit of there's like a focal character sort of in a sense around this segment. The individual that is the thumbnail for this episode, actually. Okay, what the fuck just happened? My computer did a weird shit. All right, cool. There we go. All right, we're good. That was weird. It just like glitched out. All right. Well, a little casual reminder though who this guy is. You guys may remember him. He's been on Rogan a number of times. Mike Benz. This guy. Now we're gonna get. He had gone on Rogan fairly recently, and he had dropped a whole bunch of knowledge about. Essentially the CIA's connection to the music industry. And so it's a pretty long, it's on the longer side, and I figured we'd go through it together. One of you guys shared it with me. I believe it may have been, I can't even think of who it was right now, who shared this to me. Whatever, it'll come back to me later. I think it's like something Anarchy. I can't think. Agile Anarchy, I think, is who tagged me in that. So Big thanks. But this tagged me a while back. I think it was about a month ago he was on. But hey, a little bit of a slow news day today, so finally gave us a chance to dig back into this. But just a casual reminder who the fuck this guy is before we get into it. He did just recently go on Rogan. And actually, funny enough, he just got mentioned again on Rogan. I don't watch Rogan regularly. I just see this shit on my feed, by the way. But I guess Shane Gillis on his most recent episode mentioned him. Essentially gave Rogan a ribbing and called Mike Benz his CIA disinfo agent. Funny enough, though, I think he actually might have been mixing him up with Mike Baker, who was like very clearly, like admittedly a Fed at one point in time. I don't know if he still, I don't think he claims he still is. But anyways, now Mike Benz, he doesn't claim to have, I think didn't he work for he worked for the government. I mean, I did too. So I'm not trying to give him like shit in that way, but anyways, I guess just the idea of like kind of making the parallel between him and Baker. Baker's far more of an overt Fed character. Yes, Mike Benz worked for some department or something. I don't know exactly what he did. That can mean a million different things. But anyways, but he does still, he puts off a pretty distinct glow. He's actually already, I know we were talking in the chat about the next segment we're going to go into, the Julian Dorey thing. I've already done one of these for Mike Benz a while back. Like, I don't know what the name of it was. Essentially just digging into Mike Benz, who this guy is, what he's about. I mean, I don't know for sure if this motherfucker is a Fed, but I can tell you he does glow. So, you can dig back and you can look around. If you don't trust me, there's a lot of weird shit in his closet. But a little casual reminder kind of on the face of like kind of what I'm getting at here. Here is a little clip from somebody who I guess has Ryan Dawson on their show, some sort of back and forth talking about Benz. I guess a casual little side thing about Ryan. It's kind of, he is, I don't know, whatever. Let's play the clip and then we'll talk about it.
Do you remember Mike Benz on Joe Rogan?
Just because girls juice deals.
And Mike Benz, who was Frame Game, who was posing as like an alt-right based guy, he kept wanting to talk to me. And of course, the entire alt-right was like enthused by this guy because like he's a Jew, but he's on our side. And I was like, I'm not talking to a Jew. And people were like mad at us. And then it turns out, oh, he was running a gay op. He went on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Just because girls juice deals.
He's basically saying that one of the things Epstein was doing was he was making deals with countries that maybe don't have our same norms and morals for various military things. You know, you grease those deals with the young girls. So I'm like, so you're saying our military is bribing Arab sheikhs with young girls? Is that what you're saying? And then Joe Rogan just nodding along as if, yeah, that's understandable. I get it. Yeah, sure, that's fine. That's totally cool. Well, let's tell the American people then. You're pitching that like it's okay. And then you have Tracy out here and Richard Hanani. They're like, sex trafficking is fake. It's not even real. Yeah. You're a crazy person. It's just gaslighting.
Even if you go back to 2005, you had a multitude of little kids, 14, 15, 16, right. 17. They went once, got freaked out, ran home, and told the parents. Grooming's also illegal. They'll be like, oh, well, they took the money. Say, okay. So, yeah. So, if you take the money, now you're a prostitute and it's your own fault. If you don't take the money, it's like, well, you already did it.
When the girl is not of age, you can't transfer agency and moral culpability to the girl. Richard Spencer was talking about this. Like, oh, it was the whore's fault. Okay, so you're calling little girls whores. And Richard's like, it's fine. You'll go to the pool. You'll hang out. You get fucked. You get some money. And it's cool. It's a fun thing. And I'm like, you people fucking disgust me. First of all, that's illegal. And then they're like, oh, well, she brought other girls. Well, that's illegal. That's grooming. You are describing grooming and sex trafficking, and you're just saying it's okay. So don't tell me that it's not real. You're just fine with it. You people are just okay with it. That's why I'm not one of you people. I never want to see you fucking people again. And if I see you, I'll probably punch you in your fucking smug face because fuck you.
If you don't like what we tell you to believe.
All right. Now, I guess one thing I was trying to get at, there's a real tragedy, essentially, in this clip right here. There was a period in time, and Ryan while he is insufferable in many different ways and very hard to work with and causes a lot of his own fucking problems, he is, bar none, or no, I guess not bar none, there definitely are some. He is like, we were talking about Mount Rushmore Mount Rushmore of country. If we were going to do a Mount Rushmore of Epstein research, frankly, I think Ryan probably, from what I understand of his work, would probably make that. Now, there's a good chance in the commissioning of the creation of it, he would probably piss off everyone that was, making the Mount Rushmore, and as a result, they'd be like, fuck you, and they'd just chisel his face off of it. But either way, he's still done lots of work there. But one thing we're probably gonna have to come back here soon because it's this bookmark folder is piling up a little bit more. But we're probably gonna have to come back to the Tate stuff. Now you watch the dichotomy between how Ryan talks about Epstein and how Ryan talks about the Epstein or the Tate brothers, and it really makes you question something. So I don't know, maybe it's all in the up and up, and it's all the all these things he's kind of like sort of alluding to and kind of giving Mike Benz shit for. He's kind of seemingly done basically the same thing all for the Tates. So kind of sad that these dropping Ryan Epstein stuff has kind of been deflated by his licking the taints of the Tates. So I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what the fuck he did, if he fucked one of their whores or what, but hey, it sucks. That is all I can say. But either way, they still are right on there. This guy's a fucking creep and very much downplaying it. The funny thing though is I actually did was looking around this morning. And I just happened to find Mike Benz responding to one of the people giving him shit about the whole like girls juice deal shit. And then the funny thing is he then goes like, yeah, well he literally then just restates it. He's like, yeah, what that means is that like, well, they're just, it's something you add to a deal to make value. Like essentially the idea is he's saying like, yeah, that was just a way for me to say exactly what you guys are saying. Like that's essentially the way he framed it, as if like, yeah, well, I'm saying what you guys are saying. You guys are saying he's sex trafficking and slinging this chick and doing this and doing that. I'm saying the same thing you are, but in a different way. And technically, he's kind of right. And but let's be real. Different words have different connotations. They can mean slightly different things. They can have dual meanings. This whole like girls juice deal thing. If you watched that podcast, which I don't know if I watched all of it. I know I've watched many clips and of that one. Yeah, he was downplaying it. You're out of your fucking mind if you don't think it was downplaying child trafficking. That's exactly what he was doing there. Like, but it is like, yes, he is correct that like, yeah, him going, oh, girls juice deals, girls juice deals, girls juice deals. Like, yeah, that's technically expressing the same idea in the sense that like the bare bones, like what you're saying are kind of the same, but like there's a different connotation here. You're kind of doing the Epstein thing that Ryan was just talking about there. So anyways, let's watch this clip. Here's him kind of so now that we've got that, kind of reminded you who this guy is, what he's about. Here he is going on about the music industry and their connections to the CIA. Leave it to him. He very much loves to come in and tell you how shitty the CIA is, which that's fine. Don't get me wrong. I fucking hate the CIA. Although I find it funny. I don't know enough about Mike Benz to know if this is true, but a lot of these people are like, oh, I fucking hate the CIA. And then they're like in the corner like, oh, Peter Thiel. You're like, dude, that's like, do you not study any parapolitics? Like, do you not understand how these motherfuckers move? That is like basically the entire methodology of the fucking intelligence agencies at this point, is make fucking cutouts. That way you can go, herder, we're fucking private. Like, okay, that's the CIA. I'm sorry if you're that stupid to fucking fall for that trick. I mean, like, just because you go herder, like, I'm technically not an employee or whatever, even though I'm receiving money, I'm not an employee, I'm just a contractor. Like, go suck a dick. But anyways, so he's first one to admit that, the CIA bad and they're doing bad stuff. So it's very much shirking, seemingly kind of passing off a lot of stuff. Oh, wow, Epstein stuff, all CIA shit. Like, don't get me wrong, they definitely had a lot to do with it. But when pressed, to actually, give any sort of actual CIA people shit, then somehow they're not really CIA. But anyways, so just kind of throwing that out there before we get into the music stuff. I think that's an important thing to kind of color this commentary with. As we're kind of going to like, oh my God, look at all this USAID and how they got into music and this and that. And it's all true. I mean, well, not all true. I mean, but it is also, to me, it seems a little bit of a distortion. But let's watch this clip. Then I have a number of different Epstein files and other things to go through with you guys.
USAID ran that operation to sponsor protest rap music through a contractor posing as music promoters in Cuba. Basically looking at these local rap groups and saying, we can make you an international star, baby, type thing. And then they get radio distribution. And this is how you see these Bono types and Sting types who are at every single Save Ukraine conference. Again, not even weighing in on the substance of it. You want distribution, you use it as a battering ram. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, even though I know that this is going to cause a lot of headlines. But here's a great example of this. The NATO Psychological Operations Planning Center in Riga, Latvia in 2019, and you can pull this on screen if you type in Taylor Swift, NATO, or you type in, what was it, trained to share messaging, or just trained messaging, and this was a big news cycle. There was a huge controversy around it. A lot of people misreported it by closing the loops on things that I didn't say, but that are open questions about what really happened, which is this sort of Taylor Swift as an instrument statecraft. And the example I give here is, and if you pull this up on screen, if you just Jamie, you'll see this, and so I have it all underlined. This is a public YouTube right now on NATO's formal website, the Western Military Alliance. They set up this psychological operations, strategic communications cell to do internet censorship and information operations out of after Crimea in Riga, Latvia. And in 2019, they held a conference there about how to use AI scanning technology to map out narrative distribution networks on social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatnot. And there's three people who are at this thing. One of them was 77th Brigade from British intelligence, who are presenting to NATO.
I'm going to step up the speed a little bit before you guys are like, what the hell is going on?
Them started their career in the Central Intelligence Agency, and one of them was put in the description as someone who worked at, it was part of the Johns Hopkins School of International Affairs school, but that actually was announced on the panel, and according to their LinkedIn, was actually working at the time for Graphica, which does this internet censorship. They get $7 million from the Pentagon. They were incubated. They were formally incubated inside the Pentagon's Minerva Initiative, which is the Psychological Operations Research Center of the Pentagon. When the Pentagon wants to do psychological operations in Africa or in Central Asia, they turn to the thought leadership, the sort of policy planners who pitch ideas about, these tactics work. So, for example, one of the Minerva Initiative grants, not to Graphica, this group, but to others, because theirs was for Russiagate stuff. So, sort of psychological operations, stuff around fighting the Hearts and Minds war against Russia, but Graphica. But others in the cohort were how to secure citizen buy-in after a crisis event in order to make people trust their government against when we topple the government and people think it's a coup. I mean, basically how to get people to trust their government when they're skeptical of it. And then you turn around and see Graphica was partnered with the Atlantic Council as well as the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to censor the 2020 election, and partnered with our own NIH to censor COVID. But the fact is, all three people on this panel were involved or had a career at one point in intelligence work, and specifically, at least with two of them, psychological operations. And on screen, Jamie, if you can find it, I think you're gonna save us both a lot of headache, because everyone will just see it right there in red underline on a YouTube video everyone can pull up right now. Let me know if you're having trouble finding it. Just trained to spread, maybe, and I'll have this my time. But it literally has a pitch to NATO.
I'm not sure what I'm looking for exactly for that video. It's the 2019 NATO conference, right?
Yeah, if you just go to my X feed and you just hit the search bar and you type in Taylor Swift.
I'm on YouTube though. You said to go to YouTube.
No, my X feed is the best way to search it. But it has a picture on that.
All right, going to take a little break. We'll come right back to it just for maybe it's a comment. I just don't have anything really to add yet, so I'm just going to take a second. Just for copyright reasons, I don't want to get dinged, and I didn't really have anything particularly to add. But I guess going to buttress my point about his whole CIA thing real quick. Here is a FOIA of there were apparently Epstein FOIA'd the CIA. So here's Ben's. He says, in 1999, Jeffrey Epstein anonymously FOIA'd the CIA to obtain all CIA records that may reflect an open or otherwise acknowledged agency affiliation between himself and the CIA. In 2011, he wrote again to see if the CIA had acknowledged any links with him in the 12 years since. So here is a document to that effect here. Which normally I share one of Mike Benz's things, but I'll share it just for you guys, those who want it. He goes, by using a lawyer to go through the Privacy Act, this ensured the public couldn't allow Jeffrey Epstein was the requester of the CIA records about himself, and all correspondence would remain between the CIA and Epstein's law firm. At first, I must point out, this is Mike Benz's words, by the way, I must point out this is an exceptionally interesting file in part because it is actionable. It discloses two CIA file reference numbers, Epstein's 1999 request for CIA records about himself and Epstein's later 2011 requests. He says, I've looked for hours in the underlying request letter Epstein's lawyer sent the CIA, which the CIA responds to. I can't find it anywhere. Maybe someone else can. I don't even see a redacted copy of the P-199-20245 CIA FOIA correspondence in the CIA reading room. Epstein's 1999 CIA FOIA correspondence never having been approved for release, even in a redacted form, is interesting. as it's been more than 25 years. I'm attaching screenshots of CIA FOIA correspondence and CIA reading room that were approved for release in between 1 to 9 years. So the CIA FOIA correspondence to outside lawyers about a FOIA request are not classified. Where personal identity is sensitive, the CIA reading room is replete with uploads that have the file reference number in the correspondence, but the name of requester redacted. All right, I know there's a lot of jargon here, but essentially Epstein FOIA'd the CIA and to look for any mentions of him, in the CIA. And the theory here, many people, is kind of the idea of like he's making sure that there's multiple different ways you could look at it, but one thing would be like he's looking to see make sure that hey, whatever connections he has to the CIA aren't able to be, viewed by everyone. And then furthermore, they're saying that not only that, they're going out of their way and essentially preventing the FOIAs from being viewable, which I believe they're all supposed to be, for a longer period of time than normal. So which makes it even weird. Because what do you say? This was it's been more than 25 years. So the fact that it's just now getting approved or whatever. Continuing on, he says, ordinarily the CIA has to automatically declassify or deny after affirmative review records after 25 years. But CIA FOIA records are not subject to this because they're not classified. Rather, the CIA uploads based on frequency of requests for a FOIA reference files upload. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense that why Epstein FOIAing mentions of himself would be a classified thing. In theory, anyone right now could just FOIA the CIA for all records and correspondence related to reference numbers. I'm not going to read the numbers again. In theory, the CIA would have to turn those Epstein files over immediately. We know the files exist. We know they're not classified. The reason Epstein's FOIA comms of CIA are important to get now is because it's hard. From this new DOJ drop, to deduce exactly what Epstein asked for, exactly what the CIA looked for, and exactly what part of the request triggered the CIA to issue a GLOMAR for part of it. Which, let's look. I don't even know what a GLOMAR is, so let's look that up. GLOMAR. Meaning. Let's look it up. It's a term used to describe a FOIA response where the agency neither confirms nor denies the existence of responsive records. Okay. All right. So there you go. Now, if anyone's, I'm gonna look at that real quick because it gives a little bit more. Sorry. There's a whole Sorry, I was just really quick skimming. There's this whole article on what the fuck GLOMAR is. So, GLOMAR. I guess it's when they're kind of playing CIA games and neither confirming nor denying in a FOIA request. That's what that is. So, all right, back to this. So GLOMAR. Okay, so this triggered the CIA to issue GLOMAR for part of it. So they issued this essentially neither confirm nor deny for this thing. For the record, I don't want to send this FOIA request because I don't want to get killed. Oh, ha ha ha, Mike Benz. But you definitely should. Now let me break down for you why. He says, first, it'd be huge to know what exact CIA records Epstein requested about himself in 1999 and what year he set the look-back date to. We know Epstein had a fake Saudi passport by 1982. I've long made the case Epstein was CIA adjacent by 1978 to 1979. The second, we can't currently tell exactly what records Epstein requested about himself in 2011 because the CIA response to him in 2011 shows they simply reran the same request Epstein sent them in 1999 and updated their record search through 2011. Goes third, given Epstein's CIA adjacency to the late 1970s and throughout the 80s, it's quite possible Epstein originally FOIA'd the CIA for records about himself in the 1980s, and his 1999 FOIA simply reran his earlier 1980s request. In that case, we'd get all that info. Fourth, the fact the CIA gave a partial response, no open or acknowledged agency affiliation, and partial GLOMAR means the exact text of what Epstein requested could both, one, finally confirm whether the CIA is hiding classified Epstein docs, and two, hint at what's classified. There's one reading as Epstein repeatedly FOIA'd the CIA to keep checking if they publicly disclosed any links with him so he could decide what he could credibly tell his colleagues going forward and know what info might be easily discoverable by foreign counterintelligence organs. Importantly, Epstein was not a widely known figure at all in 1999. He only came into public awareness in 2001 to 2002 when the public became curious. Was flying Bill Clinton around Africa, so Epstein checked if any CIA connections were public before he himself went public. That puts the 2001 news report that Epstein once claimed to have worked for the CIA, though he now denies it, in a new light. It suggests Epstein may have bragged about CIA role in the 90s, then sought his liability, then felt confident to deny it after his 99 FOIA. It says, but it gets better. The fact the CIA searched for any open or acknowledged agency affiliation does not mean that's what Epstein asks for. This paragraph only says the CIA has no open or acknowledged records on him. He could have asked a very different question. As it turns out, the CIA saying has no records that would reveal any open or acknowledged agency affiliation, followed by a glomar denying both the existence and the non-existence of classified records, is a stock CIA reply. Let's see how much longer this thread goes. Okay, we only got 5 more. Which leads to the big question. Did Epstein in 99, years before he became a public figure, directly ask the CIA to see his own personnel file? It says, as I stared at this part of the CIA's response to Epstein lawyers, I asked myself, why would a billionaire's highly paid lawyer do something so stupid as to directly ask the CIA for classified info in a FOIA? Of course you can't. Everyone knows the CIA is not allowed. So if we're pointing to, if you look in there, it's kind of saying the CIA, the fact of the existence of non-existence or requested records is currently improperly classified, is what it says. Sorry, it's a bunch of legal jargon here. It says, we processed Mr. Epstein's request. We searched for CIA records. We were unable to locate any with respect to records that would reveal a classified connection to the CIA. So they give the reasoning classified connection. So anyways. So I guess they're saying that if he knew it was classified, why would he be looking for it? So remember, the CIA issued a denial of some requests. What kind of 2,000-hour hotshot law firm partner would be so clueless and so incompetent they'd request classified documents from the CIA in a FOIA? And then it hit me. Epstein's lawyers didn't ask for classified records about Epstein. They asked for something else about Epstein, and whatever that was, it touched on something classified. It says, now the question is, what brave soul will FOIA the CIA for all records and correspondence pertaining to reference file numbers P199-02450 and P2011-00673. So now let's get back to the clip. Let's get back to him going on about how the CIA is, infiltrating the music scene. So let's get back to this.
Slide deck, where again, this is psychological operations planners pitching to NATO, the world, the Western world's military alliance. And the slide has a picture of Taylor Swift, and it basically says something like, and when the receipts are on the screen, you'll read it directly. It says, example of celebrities who can be trained to spread desired messaging. I think that was the exact phrase, trained to spread desired messaging. And the presenter goes over the drawbacks of this and how, what we need to decide some of the moral efficacy of this, but basically saying that, Taylor Swift has worked in various things before that have been empirically shown to move the needle on government initiatives. For example, her Get Out the Vote, her Get Out the Vote work, increase the vote, her public health campaign stuff, well, buying there. Well, that video has a lot of cursor. Okay, yeah, pause right there. Okay, no, scroll up. Right there. Pause right there. And if you see that goal, identify key actors to train and spread desired messaging. This is on NATO's, we pay for NATO. We paid for this to be pitched. Now, here's where some of this story got misreported. I don't know that anyone from NATO directly reached out to Taylor Swift or her campaign to do that. And if they did, this would not be formalized in a formal Pentagon grant or quid pro quo. But I should note, look at who the biggest sponsor of South by Southwest is in Texas now. It's the military. Go ahead and look up the scandal if you want about South by Southwest Pentagon funding. They've taken over the music industry because it's hearts and minds work. Okay, well, I guess that just happened in 2024. Let's see. If you go to, okay, so this has caused so much problems for the past couple of years that I guess they're now reforming this. But if you run a Boolean search for before 2024, you'll see this. But basically, the Pentagon, or if you scroll down, maybe it might be right there. So it caused this big boycott because the Pentagon, in tandem with this music diplomacy program and these U.S. aid backing of these things. Okay, well that's a U.S. Army in Palestine one, but you'll see the numbers on this. Basically, the Pentagon moves into this, and just like they were, giving Dua Lipa the awards, just like they're working with Pussy Riot, just like they have 22. In fact, you can look this up if you want, the State Department Music Diplomacy Program, 22 rappers, hip hop. You'll see, again, these people become network nodes. They become assets to play with, and an incredible example of this that I hesitate to discuss here because I know that the organization that these documents leaked from is contesting. These documents, but there's evidence to suggest the same play around recruiting the hip hop artists in Cuba and in elsewhere. Here you go. Breakdancing news: diplomacy meets hip hop as 22 artists visit the U.S. Okay, this is the U.S. State Department. We are paying to recruit them as assets. So when they go and look at the country list, if you want, look how far and wide this is to the edges of the earth.
All right. Now, I didn't have much to add to this. I mean, it's just him going on about all the CIA connections, and I don't even necessarily deny anything he's particularly pointing out in there. But hey, let's go into a little bit more of the other side of all of this. Here's Jay-Z and Pusha T named in the Epstein files. So let's dig through this one. It says Pusha T and Jay-Z are named alongside Harvey Weinstein. This is in a 2019 FBI crisis intake report that was released. This was back in January 30th. That it was released. As a victim in the file says she was abducted from a home by an unknown man. She woke up in Epstein's Florida mansion. She was in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Jay-Z. So here is pictures of these Epstein files. We won't go. Let's skim through them a little bit. Here we go. Here's one of them. Maybe the first one. Let's see what's in this one. What does this say? This says this was on July 10th, 2019. Is this backwards? Let me see. I think they put these backwards. There we go. Oopsies. I didn't mean to do that. Give me 1 second. Come on. Here we go. All right. The FBI. Here's the 302. I don't know. They put the pictures backwards. So details redacted. Called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to identify herself as a victim of sex abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and others. Now, this is in 2019, so this is I mean, that was well after. What was it like? When was Epstein death? I forget when he died, supposedly. When was that? Yeah, it was 2019. So it was right around the time he died, or it was like in prison. So, I mean, kind of a big deal. So who knows? This could be just a fake tip, but hey, worthwhile looking at. This is approximately 1994. Redacted revealed herself to Redacted as a past victim of sex abuse by Epstein. Redacted described the abuse occurred during parties. Redacted. Redacted further identified Redacted as a friend of Redacted. In approximately 96, Redacted resided with blank and blank. An unknown man abducted blank from her home, whence she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z. While Weinstein inserted his fingers into, I don't know why they would redact, probably her name. Redacted believes she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. Redacted estimated she was abducted on 7 occasions, awaking each time in an opulent indoor setting. Redacted suffered from sex abuse on multiple of those occasions in which Epstein participated. Redacted recalled Leon Black and William Barr, current Attorney General, being present during some of the occasions of abuse. Approximately 2006, last recall being abused by Epstein on each occasion. Redacted believes she's drugged, clouding her memory. Redacted attributed the drugging as a frequently performed by persons assigned as handlers, whom she described as persons who established friendships with the victims. Among her handlers, Redacted has identified the artist Pusha T. In approximately 2007, Redacted attended a party. Redacted following invitation from an unknown man who approached her as she walked down the street. Weinstein and Pusha T also attended the party and drugged her before engaging in sexual abuse. Redacted claimed to have additional information of other persons involved in the enterprise and information related to racketeering conducted in support of the trafficking. Redacted further believes she's under surveillance and stalked at the direction of the people involved in the sex abuse. Redacted confirmed she was not diagnosed with any mental illness. Redacted refused to provide her physical address, advising that she maintained no permanent address. Rather, she moved between staying at different hotels. So who knows? Could be just a crazy lady completely bullshitting it. This is EFTA 0129586. Here's a fun little additional little factoid here. Apparently, Jay-Z was an investor in the infamous Spotted Pig restaurant, along with sexual predators Mario Batali was an investor, and Ken Friedman, who was the owner. The restaurant even had a floor nicknamed the Rape Room. Jay-Z owned the building. So nothing to see there. Nothing to see there. Don't worry about that at all. Sorry, I'm waiting for the article to load. I don't know why it's being so slow. You guys having any issues on your end? All right, here we go. Let's dig through this article. Ken Friedman, power restaurateur, is accused of sexual harassment, is the article here. So this is the Spotted Pig. He ran his hands over Natalie Sable's buttocks and then her groin in a room crowded with customers, joking he was searching her pockets for a forbidden cell phone. So I'm not going to read this whole piece. You guys are welcome to. I'll give that a retweet. So that way you guys can check it out on your own time if you'd like. But let's check back in on old Mikey. Here is going on about Bono. So let's see, Bono. That's probably one of the least surprising glowy artists of all time. I mean, he's one of those ones that like you look at and you're like, you just glow. I don't know what's going on here, but something else is going on here. Trafficking, whatever. I don't know, but something about Bono has always struck me as fishy. So here's Ben's to confirm that for us.
Bono links up with Jeffrey Sachs in the 90s and actually a little bit before that, doing this international development work. Now, Bono, of course, is U2. He's the front man. He's this international sex symbol at the time and, giant selling out stadiums. He did these big kind of USAID fundraiser concerts, Band Aid and Live Aid. The BBC later reported that of the $100 million raised for hunger relief aid, $95 million of it went to CIA-backed warlords to buy guns. So this is like another one of these things where you think you're raising public awareness. Oh, there's a hunger problem in Somalia, but there's also a civil war where you've got the CIA taking sides in that civil war, and these groups need weapons, logistics, supplies. And so when you've got USAID vans coming in that are said to be carrying medical supplies or they're doing hunger relief, but you can't open that box because then the food will expire, it's very easy to hide guns in them. And so when you see these scandals where all this money is going not to make the world a better place and kumbaya and we're bringing food and medicine, but you're bringing guns, the money is being diverted for CIA covert action to actually kill people, not save people. Right. And so Bono was formally knighted by the British Crown, and he met with the UK ambassador after he helped put down the Irish revolt against the British Crown. If you remember Sunday Bloody Sunday? No more war. It's like, you look at it now, he's got the Ukraine emoji in his bio, and the whole thing is war against Russia, but no war against the British Crown. And I'm being knighted by the British Crown. I'm now Sir Bono because I helped put down that war.
All right, now let's check in on some other celebrity craziness. Here's one on Eminem from the Epstein files. Let's dig into this one. Here we go. It says, I was told to this is a Epstein files. Let's show you what number it is real quick, actually. Oh, they didn't show the number on it. Well, that's annoying. I'm going to grok this real quick just to be sure, just to verify it is an Epstein file, because although this is Lord Bebo, pretty decent-ish account. Not entirely slop, so I think it's probably legit. But let's read this one. It says, I was told to pour Marshall a drink and flirt with me. I realize now he kept insisting it should be me because I was the only girl under 18 in the establishment. After pouring Marshall the drink, I left the bar. I asked if I could go home now. Instead, they held my face and forced me to take something. I know there was women who shaved my privates, but my only memory after that is of being in a different part of the country club, telling the man Marshall didn't have sex with me. Honestly, I don't know if he did. I believe the man later came back. I don't remember much of it other than I was naked in the bathroom on the Wicker Chase Lounge with black man behind me holding a knife to my throat. They told me I was going to end up in a dumpster. Most of my memories felt unreal. I hope by telling someone I can find a sense of realness and healing. So here is the file itself. It doesn't show, like I said. It does show it. Never mind. I'm wrong. I didn't need to grok it there. Here's the Epstein file for those who care. EFTA 00154698. So there you go. So it is legit. I guess I didn't double check it, but that would be... Anyways, so there's Epstein in these files, or not Epstein, Eminem in these files as well. Once again, a lot of these are just like tip line stuff, so they could be completely bullshit. But I wanted to take one of these days to dig through some of the numerous celebrity claims, particularly figured we'd hone in on the musicians here. Here's a post. Oh, no, shit, damn, the cat tried to... the cat tried to jump in and caught the fucking cord here. Sorry. Breaking, this Clonny pin, I don't know why I just said breaking. It's on my mind. There's this one account that's been like really pissing me off on Twitter. I swear it's been like 3 or 4 times now. I've been like looking for content in the morning and breaking's on my mind. And I keep seeing this like breaking and like all caps, and then like it'll be some clip and I'll be like, oh shit. And then I'll be like, I vaguely recall this. And I'll be like, and like end up spending like a good couple minutes trying to be like verify when this was or whatever, and then you're like, oh, this is from like fucking months ago. So one thing to keep an eye out. So I guess I just said breaking there just because it was on my mind. It's It's really bugging me. The assistant U.S. attorney in the SDNY forwarded an email to redacted recipients sent by a woman claiming to have been separately victimized by Epstein, Diddy, Marilyn Manson, and Eminem while she worked at a country club in the Akron area as a teen. So here is one of these. This is EFTA 154698. So this is it says, hello, I'm not sure who to contact. When I Googled Ghislaine Maxwell prosecutor, you popped up. I'm not sure anyone would even still be interested in knowing. Jeez, I got some serious thunder out here. I worked at a country club in Mogadore, Ohio. I worked there from 2002 till 2004. It was called West Mogadore Country Club. It was a golf course, bar, and bowling alley. I cleaned and cooked. I don't know the exact dates. I remember Epstein coming in with Ghislaine and others. I believe they were first. Marshall Mathers wasn't there with Epstein, at least not what I saw. I wasn't normally allowed in the bar. I know they moved a bed into the banquet space. My memories of seeing it there are hazy, like I was drugged or under hypnosis. The night Marshall came in, there was another guy. I don't know the man's name. He and my boss came to the kitchen. My boss, Eric West, took over cooking because the man wanted to talk to me. He tried to persuade me to let him introduce me to a man. I kept refusing. Eventually, they threatened me. I was told to pour Marshall a drink and flirt with me. I realized now he kept. Oh, you know what? This is actually the same exact EFTA. It's just included the first part. This is my bad. So this is just with commentary from God, why am I fucking tripping over his name? Power Mapping. So that was just include the first portion of that. Sorry for the redundancy here, but that is kind of what we get. Moving on. Here is, we did mention Diddy, I think, quickly in that Epstein file. Here is the game claiming that Diddy tried to kill Drake.
You found out that they're trying to set up Drake in L.A. at one point. What exactly was that about?
That was about like him and Diddy were beefing, right? They had a little beef over something in Miami outside of Live.
I think Diddy allegedly assaulted him or something. It was over the Start from the Bottom beat, where I guess it's supposed to go to Diddy and Drake took it and something silly like that.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Started from the Bottom, I don't know what Diddy would have did with that beat.
I know.
It's like a Drake beat. But there were like calls, going around LA, and it was like, Drake here, Drake there, who will run up on him. I'm not saying it, it didn't come from Diddy directly, but LA get tricky. So, when there are beefs and they are here, no matter who it is, like there's certain people that are gonna get called, and I'm one of those people. So, I had privy, Drake to a little information. Like I said, I don't know where it came from, but I always, it's like my brother. So I hit him. I told him like, yo, this is what it is, but I got you. We over here, and I'm pretty heavy. So, we straight.
I'm gonna catch the first 15 seconds or so. Maybe I missed something because maybe he's just speaking in street talk to where it's kind of because there at the end it was kind of, it doesn't feel like he overtly said that. Let's check it again.
About how you found out that they're trying to set up Drake.
Okay, never mind. That's right. I missed the very introductory.
LA at one point.
What set up Drake in LA? So they are using kind of language that's a little bit like what does set up mean, but maybe kind of know what it means. So you've got claims that Drake Diddy was trying to kill Drake, which I don't know. I mean, wild. Diddy's kind of an Epstein of sorts as well. Moving on, let's check in on Courtney Love. For those who may recall, that was the Black Widow of Kurt Cobain. Let's look a little bit into her past, see what sort of patterns you may recognize. Says Courtney Love got a job at Brandy House strip club near the U.S. Army base in Guam in 1985. Girls were expected to turn tricks for the soldiers. While there, she was tracked down by Alex Cox, who was making the Sid and Nancy movie, who had a part for her in the film, despite her failed audition to play the part of Nancy. So, I don't know, feels significant to me, considering she's the one, the Black Widow of Kurt Cobain, as I just said. Used to sling some tricks back in the day, and so I don't. Makes you wonder. Kind of in that same vein of sort of things that make you wonder. One that really makes you wonder is an individual named Rick Rubin, which I have not checked early life, but I could only assume. Let's just check. Actually, fuck it. Let's check it right now. Rick Rubin, early life. Just curious. Why not? Rick Rubin, early life. What happens there, I wonder? Rubin, that sounds familiar. And I'll tell you who he is in a second. I'll have early life all ready to go. All right, let's dig into this guy. This is Rick Rubin. For those who don't know, this guy's like what do we even call him? He's like what does he call him? A producer? I mean, let's Google him real quick. Let's see what they call him. I don't even know what we would call a Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin. Let's see. What do they call him? What comes up initially with like a Rick Rubin? A burly, bearding, producing legend, Rick Rubin. So a producer, whatever the hell that means. Although you always hear these stories about he has not a musical bone in his body. Sure, like what the fuck is going on here? So just a producer. And he's always this weird character that people are always, the commentary is like, I don't entirely get what the fuck he does here. But yet he seems to know everybody and be involved in everything. But he seemed to love magic. I think that's pretty interesting. Also prostitutes. But here's him on his love of magic from the age of 9 years old. He says, when I was 14, I had magician friends who were 60. I learned a lot from them, and I still think about magic all the time. So he had 60-year-old friends when he was a 14-year-old into magic. Maybe he was just pulling a thing out of a hat, or rabbit out of a hat, or this or that, or maybe there's a more sinister meaning to it. It's funny, they actually show a picture here of him with David Blaine, who, funny enough, was, I believe, if I recall correctly, he was all up in them Epstein files, I think. Here's Rick Rubin with Hollywood Madam Heidi Fleiss, who former operator of elite prostitution and drug ring in the early 90s. Charlie Sheen apparently was the only name who came after that. Man, this is quite the little quote tweet thread we're going through. So he attended parties with Diddy, invites Teal on his podcast, and appears in Polymarket advertisements because he just wants to inject creativity and positivity into the world. Here's a picture of him with Johnny Ramone. I mean, this really is quite the rabbit hole. I don't even really know what to make of the Rubin rabbit hole, but let's check back in on Google and see what it has to say about the old early life. I accidentally deleted it. Oopsies. Rubin early life. What's it say? I bet you I can guess. Philly, he was second child of Philip and Rose Cooper, who were Eastern European Jewish immigrants. Never would have fucking guessed. So yes, we have an Eastern European Jewish fella right here talking about magic. So I don't know, makes my eyes raise a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. You guys can put all those patterns together yourself. If you've been following my show long enough, I think you know what I'm getting at a little bit. But that's my coverage of the old Epstein music side of things, the musical Epsteins. We're going to get into who the fuck is Julian Dorey here in a second. Probably going to cut Digital Dystopia for today, maybe come back to it another day. But let's roll the chat, say some more good mornings, and then we'll get into our final segment. Sorry for today's episode, a little bit of clusterfuck. It was kind of clearing out bookmark folders sort of day. What else we got in here? Matt McLeod says, is it completely lost and MAGA lingers at Besant is Soros' top dog? Yeah, didn't he like break the back of like the euro in like the 90s or some shit? Like he's done some weird financial stuff, and I believe it was with Soros. So yeah. What else we got here? Good morning, Matt. Good to see you here. Good morning. Says, what's up, Niggy Noggy? Good morning. Good morning. Bugfight's talking about Ryan's. This dude can't get out of his own way, though. His valuable knowledge doesn't get reached because of his autism. Yep. Good morning, Solar Explorer Coaching. Darn that Dragon says Dawson is GOAT. I mean, I don't know if I'd say GOAT, but he is definitely pretty good. Pretty dope. I laid out my thoughts on it, obviously. Good morning. Hard Ara, good morning to you. Says Ben's is a clear fed. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, like, I always hedge it because we don't like know, but like, come on. What else we got? Soul Explorer Coaching says David Ick is more grumpy than whiny. Okay. Jack says he'll say CIA but never Mossad. Speaking about Ben's, I believe. Tom says Dawson just grasped desperately any fame that he thinks might be in front of him. Yeah, a little bit of that, but in the most ham-fisted sort of way. Jack again says he always never speaks about Israel Zionist control. This is Mike Benstein. Ben's a cover name like Benny Blanco. Yeah, probably. Also pointing out they all sound like variations of Shapiro and Hammer, and just some more or less nasally. Yep. Good morning, JC. Saying, is it just me or does it seem like Whitney Webb downplays Epstein's role or significance, saying he was never Mossad or intelligence? I mean, it's been a while since I read both volumes of Whitney's book, but that's not the takeaway I got. I mean, if anything, the takeaway I got like brings it to like another level, and like, if anything, gives more significance to his connection to, like, I guess, yeah, maybe by Whitney's understanding, you could say he was never Mossad, but it's like because he's at like a higher level to where like Mossad's like a subset of him as opposed to like him being Mossad. Like a like some sort of supra elite of some sort, you know, like above the intelligence agencies. Like he's essentially not working for, but working with multiple, probably. But that wasn't my impression, because if I recall correctly, that kind of all culminates to the end where she talks about like the mega group, and particularly this group that's kind of known for, you know, supporting Israel like crazy, which a lot of people forget that about Pierre Thiel. He's one of them. So, I mean, a lot of people like to act like he's some anti-war-ish sort of guy and forget about the Israeli stuff. Especially because J.D. Vance is his guy, so it's like they kind of picture him as like the anti-neocon guy. And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, sure there. But yeah, and I didn't get that. Yeah, she brings it all the way up to like the mega group level, and so that, yeah, I don't know, brings it like kind of to the fate of Peter Thiel. Also, well, essentially kind of making it both, making it CIA, making it Mossad. I mean, he does downplay his role in that sense, and that like he's like a player for a larger thing, but I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, or maybe you're right, I don't know. Bug Fight says, I hate the way this guy looks and sounds for some reason. It comes from a primal place. Yeah. What else we got? Good morning, Tara Jackson. Good morning. Yeah, JC's right. One of the main thing with Ryan's butthurt with Whitney is that she claims he plagiarized her work, or his work, which I think to that Whitney has also said, like, I think she's kind of said, like, yes, but no. Like, in the sense that, like, I believe if I'm recalling correctly, she's claimed that she hasn't stole this shit, but, like, if she did, which she didn't, she's like, she doesn't really make claims to, like, a whole lot of original work, I guess is my point. So that, I don't know. Whatever. So it's just the idea that, like, Ryan somehow owns all info or something. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Good morning, Tara, again to you. Some jewels sent my way. Thank you. Some more jewels. Sparkles this time. More jewels from JC. Thank you. What else we got? Good morning, Mr. Mudbutt. Good morning. Saying morning to Dumpers. Good morning. What else we got? Good morning, Bobo. Good to see you up in this motherfucker. Dropping a tower. Good morning. Good morning, Qbert. Good morning. Jay-Z's face should be a crime. Yeah, the dude has a fucked up face. It was kind of wild. He got to the place he did in life with that fucked up of a face. Man, lots of chatter to get through in the chat. Matzo Balls nailed it on Rick Rubin. Nailed it. He says it's a guy that's just always there. Yeah, that is exactly. Producer Berg, says Ryan McLeod. Good morning, Mustache. Good morning. By the way, appreciate this super chat on Already Dead the other day. Somehow I missed it. My bad. I noticed it after. But good morning to you. Appreciate it. What else? Good morning, Goddess. Good morning. And see, Northside. Yeah, exactly. By that one, like, Ryan is also copying the work of the Miami Herald reporters. Exactly. I think that was kind of the point I was getting at, that Whitney kind of expressed, that, like, essentially, that, like, she didn't really, like, go out of her way to take anything explicitly from Ryan or anything like that, from my recollection of these back and forths. But, like, also a lot of this stuff is just stuff that was out there. Like, I don't know. Anyways. Yeah. All right. Let's get into who the fuck is Julian Dorey. Have a little bit of a kind of an interesting, weird one to kind of lead into it. It's not so much about Julian here, but here's a clip I've had sitting in my bookmark folder for quite a while. It's about the weird connection of Bert Kreischer to L. Ron Hubbard. So here's this clip. Hope you enjoy it, and then we'll get into a little bit of a dig of who's this Dorey fella. But yeah, also I do want to throw out there, we're about to talk a little bit about Bert Kreischer. Fuck you. I remember. We remember. Tower Gang people, we remember. I remember Top made you that beautiful little mural of "come on your big fat titties" and saying Tower Gang or whatever with all of us around it. And you're like, this is amazing, and I'm totally going to go on your show. And I'm assuming one of your big Hollywood people saw, hey, look, they said that hard R here one time. And you went, whoa. I only, deal hard R's is only every now and then on Legion of Skanks. And even then I act a little bit offended and like, oh, wow, it's so wild they're doing that. But anyways, just so throwing that out there. Fuck you, Bert Kreischer. Go fuck yourself for agreeing to go on Tower Gang and then not following through. But with that, let's get into this clip.
So they had their guy representing the guy that was doing them, so that person got screwed. You know Bert Kreischer?
Of course.
Bert Kreischer's dad was a lawyer in Florida, and he won one of the very few cases in those days that where Scientology got lit up and Hubbard had to pay. And it was like,
Kreischer's dad?
Kreischer's dad.
That apple fell far from the tree.
But now, no, this is the best part. As soon as he won that case, L. Ron Hubbard hired him.
No.
And he never did anything, but they hired him because he's one of the lawyers that could win against them. So, I think Bert's talked about it on different podcasts here and there, but it was just known as the church around the house because they put him through fucking college.
It was a legendary college career.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so they created the machine.
Oh my God.
Scientology, what is that? They co-opted the machine. They sponsored the machine.
I feel like it was against Scientology standards, though.
Well, they just locked up his dad because his dad won a case against Hubbard. So Hubbard was like, "We need that. That guy needs to be on our payroll, not on the other side."
That's the Tony Soprano method. When you're getting divorced from your wife, just consult with every single good divorce lawyer in the area, and then they can't fight.
That's right. Now she's up a creek.
Conflict of interest.
Anyway, so. At the base, there was at the end base, there was a lot of people there that either worked on the ship with Hubbard or they were in Clearwater in the early days. And so a lot of these people knew what Hubbard would do in certain situations. And they would say, Dave ain't doing what Hubbard would have done. And Hubbard said, you don't have conventions because everybody stops doing Scientology. Now they're working on setting up an event, and you don't do that. Dave Miscavige has 7-8 conventions a year to get money from Scientologists.
If he was so made fun of by L. Ron Hubbard, though, how did he finagle his way into the position to be the guy?
Well, before he was what he's now called, he's called chairman of the board Religious Technology Center.
All right. My takeaway from this is just one of those ones that, like, I guess I was never someone who's like super into Bert or anything like that. So like, I know we did try to get him on Tower Gang, and like, I don't know, he's kind of semi-endearing, semi-funny. I've never really got the appeal, but he's one of those characters you're always kind of like, how is this guy such a big deal? He's not really that funny other than like a kind of, I don't know, a physical comedy sort of way, but that's like pretty low tier comedy. Like, it's about it. But like, kind of like, how did he get here? Well, I mean, I don't know. This may fill in a little bit blanks. Apparently, Bert Kreischer's father was L. Ron Hubbard's lawyer. So, and apparently, I guess after that, it seems like a lot of things just kind of smoothed over, kind of got hooked up, and they kind of were set money-wise for a long while. Makes you wonder if that opened doors for him as well. So, kind of gives you a little bit of a look of what kind of life Kreischer came from. But let's focus in on the guy on the other side of the table here, old Julian Dorey. Let's talk a little bit about him. Here's James Lee saying Julian Dorey is the new Joe Rogan. It says everyone should follow his pod. I got a little clip here. I have no idea what's in this clip. Let's watch it together. Julian saying with the caption says, I cannot emphasize what I say here enough.
I've said this many times before, but I am not xenophobic when I talk about China's government. I'm not Russophobic when I talk about Russia's government. I'm not Ukrainophobic when I talk about Ukraine's government. I'm not Anglophobic when I talk about Britain's government. I'm not Saudi-phobic when I talk about Saudi's government. So I'm not anti-Semitic when I talk about Israel's government, and go fuck yourself if you claim otherwise.
All right, so there you go. Okay, cool. Not too bad. Not a bad little blurb there. Well, here's Polly St. George. Says political orphan. Because she's on BitChute. I don't really know much about her, but either way, she's got about 50,000 follows. She says Dorey handled high net worth clients at Merrill Lynch before starting his podcast at the age of 27. Interviews people in the intelligence community. Many guests have also been on Rogan. Sheep dip. Dang it, the cat keeps fucking with the cord today. One second. What the fuck, Ren? How did you even do that? All right, we're back. All right. Now I will to push back a little bit there. She's giving shit about intelligence community people. I don't watch his show regularly, but I will say he has made a point to like say I will never bring on politicians. I've heard him say that before. So big ups there. So which I guess that would be a counterpoint somewhat. Obviously, that's not necessarily meaning he therefore is not a glowy or whatever. But I would say it's somewhat indicative of that way at the very least. You could make an argument, perhaps you're like, oh, well, that's way so that the feds can, I don't know, almost like a controlled ops sort of thing. And that way you're like, oh, we want genuine people going forward. So have him not, interview politicians because that comes up because maybe there's some recognition of, the people see that and they just, let's be real, a politician, they're there to sell you something. They're there to sell you them. So as a podcaster, if you're bringing on politicians, it really is. I have zero. I know. Those are the worst podcasts you can imagine. Like for the most part, is those sort of podcasts. So maybe there's some sort of controlled aspect to that. So I know. I've heard people make the argument, like say for example, what I'm kind of driving at here, say with Peter Thiel, they've made the argument that like, oh well, he used to donate tons of money to Ron Paul and this and that, and you're like, oh well, that's kind of indicative. And you're like, not so much. I think when you're dealing with somebody like a Thiel at that level, for one, there might be ulterior motives to why he's investing in somebody like that, and on top of that, it really is the kind of like what do we always talk about when we're talking about like the the robber barons at the, like the be top level, like they're financing both sides, so it means nothing. Now we're dealing with somebody like a Julian Dorey. I mean, the idea that he doesn't interview politicians, I actually think that's fairly significant. There's not really any sort of like I don't know, not really like any crazy credit that you're going to get out of that. I don't know. It's just not the same, I guess, to me is kind of what I'm getting at. I would say that it is actually somewhat indicative of that, like maybe he doesn't glow. I don't know. I mean, I will give you vibes I've gone for Dorey. It does come off sort of grifty, something about him. I mean, maybe it's just a personal vibe. I don't know. I feel bad. I feel kind of bad shitting on him, but it's just vibes based. I totally get where people come from, even just from the fact of his podcast being kind of larger. People then innately just kind of assume like, oh, of course you must be glowed up. Like how the fuck did you get to here? So. I don't know. Like I said, though, I'll push back. I don't know. I think maybe they're overstating it. Paulie's saying sheep dip banker pushing narratives, obviously. So he was working at Merrill Lynch and then left at 27, which is Merrill Lynch only a big one, or isn't that one like they do like all different? Let me look up real quick. Merrill Lynch. Yeah, it's just a normal bank. Yeah, there's one near me, right? That's all it is, right? It's just a. So it's not even like some big, it's not like we're talking about, where the fuck did Epstein work at? I'm forgetting, like some of those like Wall Street sort of places. We're not talking about something like that, I believe. No, actually it is wealth management. I'm going back and forth. It's Merrill Lynch, one of the premier providers of wealth management, securities trading and sales, corporate finance and investment banking services. So I guess maybe it is more than just a bank, but I can see there is one somewhat nearby. So I guess from that, I'm just kind of getting at something like a Merrill Lynch. I don't immediately think, oh, that fucking glows. So I don't know, but let's keep moving on. Let's see what else this broad has got for us. That one's kind of a little bit unconvincing, but let's keep going. Here's probably St. George going on again, this time about his daddy. So who is your daddy and what does he do? He says, who is Julian Dorey's daddy? Because this doesn't sound like a typical grunt's career trajectory to me. If he was born in 93, this means he worked at Merrill from the age of 22 to 27, leaving to do podcasts in 2020. This are once again quote tweeting James thing about the Dorey about being the new Rogan. But let's look at this. Once again, this is just some grok thing. It says Julian Dorey did handle ultra high net worth, which is UHNW, I guess is the acronym there, individuals during his 5 years working on Wall Street. So he was there for 5 years, and apparently he was, according to what I'm assuming, this is probably some AI search this Paulie St. George did. So, take that for whatever, you're willing to take it for. It says he did he worked with Merrill's private bank. Okay, so the private bank, a highly specialized unit dedicated to managing extreme wealth. He has shared details about that period of his life on his podcast and in interviews. So it's the wealth cutoff. The official baseline threshold to be considered an ultra-high net worth client at the time was $10 million in investable assets. Massive portfolios. He has stated that his specific group's book of business average clients with net worths between $70 billion and $80 million, with some individual accounts crossing the $1 billion threshold. Corporate accounts. In addition to managing the capital of wealthy families and individuals, his team handled major corporate accounts, overseeing complex structures like 401k plans and corporate equity for both massive public and private companies. I mean, once again, I don't know. I mean, now this does sound, a little bit more, assuming all of this, a little bit more, I guess, iffy. And they're like, oh, he is actually moving lots of money around at a very young age. 22 to 27 seems pretty young to be having these sorts of clients. But what do I know? This would be something that would actually be pretty worthwhile having somebody like a Clint on, because I know this is kind of his world. So he would actually probably have a better understanding of, is this weird? He's also actually been on Julian's show before. So I don't know. This is leaving me wanting. I mean, this is only a little bit minor dig. Maybe we'll come back to it. This is all I really have for a little bit of a dig today. But yeah, I'm going to say, Paulie, you've kind of left me unconvinced, and I'm someone who is open to being convinced. You just haven't really provided anything other than he worked at a bank for like 5 years, and I mean, maybe he handled pretty high value clients. I don't know. I mean, seems a little bit iffy to me, but not really anything outside the realm of like, that's fucking insane. So, I don't know, like, there you go, guys. That was my take on Julian Dorey. I know some of you are like, hey, why are you shitting on Julian? I'm kind of not. I just wanted to dig into who the fuck he was. With that, let's roll in the chat, checking on you guys, and then we will get on out of here for today. As always, I do have a little bit of a fun outro for you, but let's get through the chat one last time. Gautis says they have a kid. One would assume they share their research as well as their bed. Gautis, I think you're mixing up people. You're mixing up Johnny Vedmore with Ryan Dawson, I believe is what you're mixing up. Because Ryan Dawson, and as far as I'm aware, him and Whitney Webb never had a thing. So I think you're mixing them up. Monza Balls, I guess, says in the Burt Chrysler diss track, Crack Amico actually brought that up. So big up to Crack for knowing that one. Cool. Soul says Kurt Metzger's Julian Dorey interview was great. Tom says Bert's too fucking stupid to be an asset or anything. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it may be too stupid, but I will say that like maybe it opened doors, because I wouldn't be surprised if that is somewhat how it works. Like these connections, knowing this person, that person, it may open doors, but then later you come back and you're like, did it really? I mean, I'm not. No, what do I mean to say? Then you come like later. It may be like it never really presented itself. Like say somebody like a Burt, like say his dad being a lawyer for Scientology. Let's say shadowy actors out there. They're kind of opening doors without him really knowing, and so he ends up in this like high position. And perhaps it's maybe just an idea of like investing a little bit there. Maybe it'll pay off, and then you end up with the fat fucking retard that is Burt Kreischer, and you're like, what do we do with that? I mean, aside from just trying to turn America into fat fucking retards, like, what do you really do with that? So, yeah, I kind of agree. The idea that Burt is an asset, it's kind of wild, but I do think maybe there is some aspect of doors being open for people like that. And maybe in an idea that, like, perhaps this will pay off later, and then it necessarily doesn't. Sean Newman says, you made fun of Candace, then said Dolly Parton twice. I've always said Dolly Parton. I know it's Parton, but is it right? Isn't that right? Now I'm catching myself. Yeah, it's Parton. I mean, I'm from Tennessee. I think everyone pronounces it that. Who like Partin? I don't know. That sounds weird, but yeah. Okay, whatever. What else we got? Everyone's backing me up. He is not funny, very much so. Northside says Theo Vaughn is funny, but he's another example of that. He's like got some weird royalty for his dad or some shit from some weird European country. So. But he's another one that you're like, I struggle to believe he's some sort of asset. Although he has been like, he weirdly was hanging out with Ivanka and Jared and shit like that at a certain point in time. But then later he did kind of do a complete like U-turn. So I think it may have just been like he just really was not that informed and was like, oh, these guys are the devil now. And I think that was like kind of in that period when he like really had his complete like fucking whoa, like breakdown. Or at least as Rogan tried to portray it that way. Hey, what's up, Eddie? He says, what a brave milquetoast take. I don't know if that's what brave milquetoast take. This was like 10 minutes ago. I'm not sure what take I had. What else we got? Tom says, I doubt Scientology did anything for Burt besides pay his dad. Rogan is responsible for Burt's fame. He's a cat boy, but only for Rogan. Okay, but like, what are Rogan's connections? I will say that. I do think I don't know if it, I do think there is some sort of connection between, at least me. I mean, it is, I don't have anything solid for it, but just vibe-based pattern recognition. I do think there's like a Processian connection to Teal in some way, shape, or form, which anyone who knows enough about the process is just essentially the hardline unit of Scientology, essentially. So, yeah, anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is, little strings of control there, you know what I mean? So now, does that mean I think that like Rogan is a Scientologist or he's being overtly controlling this or that. I think it's far more subtle. Ryan McLeod says a family member owned a little motel near Clearwater. Lots of off-book room leases to Scientology types and free vacations in San Luis Obispo, California. What else we got? Morning, Marcus Packard says Julian Dorey is awesome. He's been calling out the Epstein, Kushner, Trump corruption. The Files, Flock. He's good friends with Tommy G, who's great. Calling him Rogan is so disrespectful. Okay, perhaps. Maybe I agree. Like I said, I've only watched a handful of his episodes. But yeah, it's okay, I guess. Marcus says intelligence people he talks to, he calls out. Mustache says, no, it's a big boy, Jose. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Good morning. Or why am I saying good morning? I already said good morning to you. He says investment banking, not a regular bank, Rothy as fuck. You were talking about the bank too, Mustache, saying it was a big boy bank. Yep. Marcus says, just like Clint Russell started Liberty Lockdown doing high price mortgages, correct? Yeah, I know, exactly. Which I've said probably, I think I've even said to Clint's face, like on episodes before, like, I don't fucking know. You could be a Fed. I don't fucking know. I mean, like, it's not like I lived with Clint. It's not like I was like going through his phone daily. Like, I don't know. Is that me saying he's a Fed, to be clear too? I'm not all saying he's a Fed, but we have pointed this out many times. Like if you look at his background, he literally is like, dude, you made up a backstory. Like, that's what it sounds like. But I mean, also, he may have just done that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, from what little bit I've seen of him, it seems believable. So, or not a little bit, but from the amount I know of Clint, it does seem believable enough. I don't know. If it was like tomorrow, you're like, oh, he's a Fed, I'd be like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd be like, oh shit, that's kind of wild. But like, it wouldn't like completely change my reality. Like, I don't know. We've literally made this joke. So, Soul says if you manage a few $1 trillion accounts, you get wise to some things. But that's the thing, though. That's what I was kind of getting at. That was just some grok pull she had. So I don't even know if this is like, and I don't even think they even mentioned $1 trillion accounts. So like, I don't really know what kind of accounts he was fucking like managing here. Northside says you were correct. Ryan Dawson, Johnny Vedmore have a gay adopted a Korean kid that Ryan pretends is Japanese. It's funny. Here's JC says Polly can be decent sometimes, but she gets caught up in the passive aggressive cat fighting a lot too. I mean, yeah, I don't know enough about her, so I guess so. All right. Getting to the end here. Here's Marcus says I love Clint, not calling him fat, but don't like Candace. Take just two, but don't like Candace. Take just two. I don't know what you meant there at the end. Anyways, but yeah, I love Clint, to be very clear. I'm just being honest. That like, yeah, we've literally made this joke on Tower Gang that like, yo, dude, what the fuck? Like, you look at your backstory. At the same time, I've also pointed out myself too. Like, I talk about Timothy McVeigh very frequently and the Oklahoma City bombing. And I will tell you, I was very like, God damn it, when I've like started digging into like MK Ultra and its connections to SEER training, and then you know, which is actually what I failed out of in the military, because it's like not spec ops, but like kind of spec ops. It's like it's basically nobody from my class made it through, just to give you an idea of like how hard it is to get through. But it's technically not special forces because you're technically not a combat thing, but you can. There is a job that will frequently get attached to combat units. There are survival instructors, which survival, evasion, resistance, escape. Which if you kind of think out, not even that much outside the box, you can see how these are very applicable to MK Ultra techniques. So I was like, oh, God damn it, are you fucking kidding me? And then McVeigh, literally part of his lore is that he failed out of special forces, and then he got sheep dipped to like leave. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? So like on that same note, it's like you could play the same game with me. So, but at the same time, I will say that is something you should probably like take into account, I guess. I mean, like, not saying you should throw it out. I'm not saying this is some node that you go, Jose's totally a fucking Fed, but like, that is one component of like, if somebody was putting together an argument for why I was a Fed or something, I would totally get why they would include that. So yeah, just being honest. Let's keep going through here. Jose, you were one ugly bastard, says Qbert. Ryan says, I love such and such podcaster, therefore they aren't Fed. Exactly. That's the podcasts I don't like are Feds, and the ones I do are not. That's all you guys need to know. But with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. I love you all. See, Bug Fights. Clint's a rich boy, not a Fed. Exactly. But for those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at Tower Gang Jose. Everywhere else, it's the No Way Jose podcast. And if you want to support the show the best way you can, you do with money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. QR code right there. Low level of $2. You get access to a whole host of perks. I do about 1 to 2 episodes per week behind the paywall. Tonight, I actually have Austin coming on, and we're doing a cult film review on The Wicker Man, the 1971 film. I keep about 3 to 4 of those paywalled episodes behind there at any given time. I give you guys access to ad-free RSS feed, give you guys access to the Telegram, the pre-show, the post-show, and video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead. Also, a big shout out. The highest level on my Patreon is a big thank you for their support. On my previous coast entire gang, at Leonard Toad, also at Brigadies, at ZeroViewersK, at _Infazeal, Tim Tull, at John Klebo, Big Phone the Show, Tormay, at Wayne Takis, One Car for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Jessibule, Jacob Winter, Guy, the Big Bull Energy Podcast, and John Black. You beautiful bastard. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We will see you tonight if you're one of the patrons, or probably tomorrow for a dump. I guess I'll address a couple more chats real quick. Ryan says, did you do Sear? By the way, it's SERE at Bragg or Warner Springs? Neither. I was, what was that? Where did we do basic? San Antonio? Lackland, I think. The Sear selection occurs in what I just said, Lackland, San Antonio. And then when you get to once you get through selection and in doc and whatever the fuck, then you go to Washington State. And what is the name of I forget the name of the base there. Wichita? Or no. Whatever. Anyways, doesn't matter. The name of the place. Shepherd? Whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. No, that was where, anyway. Sorry, I lost my track of thought. No, then it goes to Washington, and then it's something like a year-long fucking track-ish to get through. Like I said, literally nobody from my classmates. We had one guy who got what's called recycled. He got hurt, and so they put him back in a class behind. And I think he made it through because we were rucking with 70 pounds on our back, and we were being retards, and we're like, well, let's take this up to a run, and so we were running in formation with rucks on our back, and literally the most badass out of the entire fucking group, fucking just yoked out of his fucking mind somehow, just tripped, and just the fucking ruck just went to his side, and I think he broke a rib or something. And just because of the fact they knew he was good shit, they let him redo it later. But most everybody else, they'd be like, well, you're going to another job. I became an aircraft mechanic. So yeah, that was the only guy who technically made it through. He was technically in our class and made it through, but in another sense, you didn't. Nobody from our class made it through since he got recycled. Anyways, let's get out of here. I do have a fun little outro for you guys. I think you guys will like. Old John Black gave this to us. This right here is the conundrum the modern man that watches his shows deals with every time when some normie goes, "Are you racist?" So here you go. Enjoy this. We'll see you guys probably tomorrow or tonight if you got $2. But we'll see you guys on the next one. Love you all. Bye.
Do you think racism is okay? Do you think racism is okay?
Great question. By modern day terms, I would say yes, racism is okay, because by modern day terms, racism has quite frankly lost its meaning. It's turned into this very lazy and just dilly-dally definition. Something like you say the N-word, you're automatically considered racist. That's not what racism actually is defined as. But now if I actually answer this based off the Greek definition, racism is defined as treating one race superior to another without probable cause. Without probable cause is the key line here, because you could argue whites are superior to Somalis due to having double the IQ, and you would be completely correct. So the only time I wouldn't say racism is okay is by the Greek definition, which is, again, not giving probable cause. As Christians, we don't see races as being superior to one another. We do recognize certain races are statistically above others in fields like IQ. Is that enough to claim superiority? I'm not sure. That's where the debate comes in. So to answer the question, is racism okay? Technically no, but it depends.
Yo, even ChatGPT is impressed, bro. Where are these Johns spawning from?